Hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Good. Can everybody hear me? How's the volume? Okay, good. So the first thing I wanted to go over, I don't know if you guys notice, but in the this corner, this little guy, so I actually partnered with an Instagram page called Sober Motivation, and I tag them in some stuff when I'm talking about sobriety, and they reached out to me, and we thought it would be nice to just do like a cross promotion and partner with each other. And so they actually, Sober Motivation is an amazing Instagram page that just talks about tips to be sober, success stories. They show before and after pictures. They have inspiring words, things like that. But another thing they just launched is called Your Sober Buddy. And I wanted to just sort of like walk through what it looks like and give them a bit of hype because they're so, the guy who runs the account is so nice. And they do so good for so many people. I know in my first couple years of recovery, just seeing that stuff come up on your feed in, I would say Instagram, at least from my background in the nightclub industry, is like 85% people partying. Not so much anymore, but it'll be memes about partying and people out at clubs or drinking and stuff. So like breaking it up with some positive, sober words is just so nice. So this is their new app is called Sober Buddy. And it is an app that does daily check-ins, so you can check in and see how your mood's doing, if you're still sober, if you're still drinking. It has bite-sized challenges that teach key recovery skills. It gives you a ton of motivation, and it's not just for booze, it could be for drugs and at any stage of recovery. So if you're interested, this is kind of what it looks like. It's for Apple or Android. And it comes with this super cute little dude, which is like just as cute as the logo that I made for my channel. So yeah, take a look at that. If you want, it's just yoursoberbuddy.com. And yeah, they've exploded. I didn't even know it was this popular, but great. Yeah, so that's that. Let's hop over to me. Yeah, but thank you, Sober Motivation, and thank you, Your Sober Buddy, for supporting me. You guys are amazing, and I wish you nothing but the best. So, sobriety talk. Let's get started. I hope everybody's doing well. If you hadn't caught my last stream, I will catch up in the story then, but I just wanted to answer a couple questions that I received. The last stream that we did, there was actually people, for the first time, people ask questions on stream. So if you have any questions about drinking or sobriety or what I was like when I was drunk or just anything like that, ask away. But I've got a couple questions here that I want to answer. I do get some that, I don't think people are super comfortable asking them on stream yet, or not everybody. But if you are, then please do. But here's a couple questions I got from people. I have heard that for a lot of people, 3 months is a huge turning point for their sobriety. Was this the same for you? Yes, actually, that's the advice that I give to people. And one of the, again, reading sobriety pages like Sober Motivation, you hear that 3 months is like where you realize that this is something that you can do and this is something you want to do. Reason for that being is I think in 3 months of your life, you've been through enough opportunities to get drunk. Like in 3 months, you'll have had a birthday invite, you'll have had an event, a long weekend, a wedding, or something in your life that you will have had to either give up your sobriety or push through. And so if you can get to that 3 month phase, you'll probably have gotten through one or two of those events, and you are like, absolutely, I can do this. Like I am proud, I am more motivated than ever if you get through it. And so that first 3 month mark, you just feel like you're on fire, like you can do so well. So yes, that was the same for me. It was a massive celebration, and there's actually a point in the sober chat today when I'm talking about my story. It wasn't exactly 3 months, it was after 3 months, but that was when it clicked in my heart. I was like, I have I've done this. I have unlocked. I know I'm never going to go back, and all of it is just going to be forward. So I will talk about that. Have I ever? Next question. Have I ever slipped up? No. I mean, as I mentioned last time, the only like for the first 6 months when I was working at Republic and I was sort of like secretly being sober, I still had to take shots, but I would spit them back into cups of Coca-Cola. So the only alcohol I've had since I decided to be sober was literally the alcohol touching my tongue. So obviously a little bit gets absorbed into your bloodstream, and that was the worst. Yeah, it definitely made me still feel kind of weird. Like after a while, you have such a low tolerance for alcohol. Like I'm sure if I drank right now, I could drink a beer or a shot and be annihilated. So that's the only, and I wouldn't even consider that a slip up. That's just what I had to do to get through the first 6 months is fake it until you make it. And I'm happy that I made it. But yeah, I have never had another sip. I've never had another drink. Sometimes, especially when I used to work at, I still worked at Republic for quite some time after I was sober. Yeah, I would smell booze just to see if it reminded me of anything, or I would like sort of like push and test myself to see if I craved it. And no, I had never had a desire to have a sip. It smells really weird and kind of gross. I mean, hand sanitizer kind of smells the same as booze to me, so now it's just like, whatever. Last question. Does Sarah drink, and are you okay with that? Well, yes and no. So when me and Sarah met, she was actually doing a 1 month sobriety challenge. She was doing like a 30 days of no drinking with her friend. So it was a perfect time for us to meet because our dates were amazing. Like neither of us drank. There was none of that pressure that I talked about of like one person wanting to drink or me being uncomfortable or anything like that. So she didn't drink at all for her first month. And then after that, she didn't drink at all for a really, really, really long time. But every now and then she has like a little baby glass of wine or something. And that's totally okay. Like it does not bother me in the slightest. I'll always make fun of her for it just because, but seriously, it does not bother me at all. My mom is the same way. She has like a half glass of wine every day with dinner, but she would never ever get drunk. So no, and I think that's it. Like Sarah is an incredible woman, but she has an amazing balance and relationship with alcohol where for her it is nice to have like a small glass of wine after work with her coworker. She works at a restaurant, and just socialize. And so for her, like that's amazing. And she doesn't use it she doesn't abuse it. She doesn't do anything like that. And yeah, we've never had any issues with that, and I really, really, really appreciate the openness that we can talk about stuff like that. But again, never had an issue, and I'm happy that she has that relationship. And as I mentioned in previous talks, like maybe one day I'll get there too. I don't have a desire to really even have any, just because I think for me, like my sobriety is on a pedestal, and to even have a sip would just go against everything that I've worked so hard for. But who knows what the future holds, right? So those are all the questions. Thanks for everybody who asked. And now we can get back into my story. So I sort of left off last time when I was talking about getting a fitness pass at Steve Nash, how I got a personal trainer, and they encouraged me to sign up for the success stories for that year, which is essentially a contest for people who have had a great transformation in their lives, whether it's fitness and mental or physical or both. And I made it to the finals, and I sort of went through all of how awkward it was getting interviewed for that stuff and filming and all that. And I had finally actually told everybody on social media that I was sober. I was 6 months sober. I posted a before and after picture. That was probably the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. I'm still I'm very happy with my fitness right now and the way I look, but not nearly as cut as I was then. I was eating very, very clean food 6 days a week, and then on my cheat day I would eat still it wouldn't be chocolate bars and chips and stuff. It would just be like not food that was part of my diet plan. So I was very focused. I was not in a relationship. I was not in anything. I was just work out, walk my dogs, play video games, work every single day. And with that sort of dedication, you can even in 3 months, you can turn the way your body into a completely different person. It's incredible. Um, so I look great, and I sort of, yeah. Last time I left off, when I went to the finals, there was a big amphitheater that we had to go to on South Granville. All of the trainers and Steve Nash, the CEO, the vice president, all that stuff. And I won. They called my name, and I won. And I had to get up on stage, and of course, you know me, I like to speak to people, and I like to talk, and so I had a speech that I tried to make. I'm just getting choked up thinking about it. um, but it essentially just thanked the trainers for doing like such important work, I think, in people's lives. And I think a lot of that gets lost in the what people see with personal trainers. Like, oh yeah, they're a personal trainer, like, you know, there's a certain connotation, but they're not. Like, they're genuine. Every single personal trainer I've ever met or worked with or anything, like, are they're genuine people who want to help other people on their fitness path. And you know, you don't see that unless you're part of a gym and part of that sort of culture and community, because it's just like anything else. It's like going to a bar. It's like playing video games. It's like being you know, being on YouTube or anything like that. You If you go there enough, you start making friends, and all of these people are literally dedicated to like helping people change their lives. And so that was the point of my speech, was to just like thank them for that. And I broke down crying. I couldn't even say, I had an awesome like mic drop last sentence, and I couldn't even say it because I was so choked up. So everyone just started clapping. But it was great. Um, the prize was a full year of free personal training, I believe. No, it was, I think, 30 personal training sessions, a full year of the gym, and a $5,000 travel voucher to anywhere I wanted, which was freaking amazing. And so before I continue to move on with that, I actually wanted to jump back to what I was talking about when I was answering questions, like the turning point. Um, is for me. So in my first 6 months, if you've been watching the story the whole time, you'll remember this, my friend Steve. And so I didn't want to go to his bachelor party, and that was sort of when I really started to put my mind into being sober. So his wedding came about in my first 6 months of sobriety, and he invited me, of course, and he asked me to be the MC of his wedding, with his wife's fiance at the time, his wife's Janelle's one of her close friends. So they wanted us both to be the MCs. And that wedding is all of my childhood friends. I'm still pretty close with a lot of them, very close with some of them. And it was, I knew, like, you know, those are the guys that I partied with my entire life. Like, our whole relationship as soon as we got out of junior high was based around drinking and getting into trouble and having fun and going out to bars and stuff. So I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can go, but I was so stoked that I did. I decided to go. Like, I got a suit and we drove up. Um, and it was in a beautiful, what is Tofino? That's where it was. It was in Tofino. It was sort of like a getaway vacation. Everyone stayed in this really nice hotels on the beach, and yeah, it was. I prepared. I had like a little speech made for each person. I cracked jokes, and then that part was all like no problem, not drinking. But then obviously afterwards, the party part came when there was dancing and singing and lots and lots of drinking, and I got through it all. And honestly, I had more fun sober than I would have if I was drunk. I think, because if I was drunk, if you guys have been listening to this story, you know that I would have drank too much. I would have fallen asleep somewhere embarrassing. And then someone would have had to carry me back to my room, and I would have missed the party anyways. Um, you know, it would have been freaking pointless. So, instead of doing that, I still had fun. I still was at the front row of the band playing. It was a live band. My good friend Ashley was the singer. So she was actually one of my first regulars when I started bartending, and like, how serendipitous that she was there when my best friend got married, singing the songs. And yeah, I was front row. I took my shirt off. I put my tie on my head. We did all that stuff. It was actually a Jewish wedding, and so they did all the cool stuff with the chairs and jumping over people, and I was like deep in all of that, and not a drop of liquor, and I had so much fun. And then when everybody took cabs back to the hotel, and they went off to have their after party and do all that, I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed, and I sat out on the patio and just listened to the waves, and I had some food, and then I read a book, and I was like, man, I did it. like I freaking did it. And I was so happy. And I was like, this was probably the hardest situation I could have placed myself into, in terms of drinking. Like at the ceremony, it was on the beach under this crazy, awesome like thing that they had built, and all the chairs were out in the sand, and like it was so beautiful. They literally had a canoe filled with alcohol. And like, how cool is that? It was just, there's so many opportunities to like really drink, and like a lot of those guys do have a good head on their shoulders about drinking, and I just don't have that. So it was like, I was so proud of myself, and so like just aware that this was something that I could do forever, and like seeing how much my life had changed in that point, and how much it was going to continue to change was insane. Yeah. So that was my turning point for me. It was just after 3 months. And I was like, I felt so motivated. And then all of this stuff started to happen after that. Obviously with the success story, and I won that. I actually got nominated. Previously when I was talking about how, my alcoholism, I mentioned that I had won, nightclub bartender of the year. I won a different award, which is bartending personality of the year. And then the year after I got nominated again, and I didn't win. And that's totally fine. But again, going to that awards ceremony, and that was right around the same time as the success story. I didn't win, and that's totally okay. There's I think her name was Caitlin that won. She totally deserved it. She's a way better bartender than me. I just, nightclub bar. She's a cocktail bartender. Totally deserved it. But that was another huge opportunity for me to drink, and I didn't. And I felt so good, and I was like, you know what? I didn't win. Who cares? Like, I tore up the speech I had in my pocket that was like 4 pages long, and I just went home and I played video games and like, c'est la vie, man. So, but again, there's so many opportunities throughout your course of sobriety that there's, every time there's an opportunity to drink, a person could say, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to have a shot, see what happens. And then you fall into that path again. But if you just choose to step back and say, hey, why do I need to do this? Like, why do I need to have a shot right now? Would that make anything better? And if you play in your head the events that are going to happen as you do that shot, you're like, I'm going to do that shot, and then I'm going to go get a beer, and then I'm going to do another shot, and all of my money's going to be gone, and I'm going to wake up hungover or not go to sleep at all. And that's going to suck. Like, why? And for what? Because I'm sad, I'm upset in the moment. Like, you get over it. Yeah. So it was a couple of really good things that really reaffirmed to me why I was sober. And then after those first 6 months, I was continuing to work at Republic. I was very motivated. I was saving a ton of money. But I started to feel a little bit jaded, something that I never thought I would feel about a restaurant or a nightclub or anything. The warehouse thing had, like, I wasn't part of that. I was just working, and I actually got into being assistant general manager at Republic right near the end of everything. And so I was assistant general manager of Republic, which was great, but there's a lot of pressure involved in that, as well as it was just very stressful. And I started to think, like, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Like, it started to really, really bother me that I felt like I was part of my problem. Like, I wanted to be sober. I didn't, at the time. I think now I'm more accepting of, like, do whatever you want to do. People can be drunk if they want. That's their choice. That has nothing to do with me. So I'm not going to preach. But I think over the course of people's sobriety journey, there's a point that you go through where you are very preachy because you feel how powerful and how much it's changed your life. And you want to share that with everybody, but I don't think it's from a place of being an asshole. I think it's from a place of, like, you so badly want people to see this side of life, and you so badly want people to try it that it's almost like you get really pushy about it. And so I think I just got really annoyed that I was getting these people drunk every single night over and over and over again. And I was upset for them. Like, they would come in and spend their money, and I don't know, for some people, that it was money that they had, but this is what they did. And if you go back to what I was talking about, where it's like, um, for a lot of people, drinking is like part of their social life. It's part of that power and respect on the social ladder. So if you're the guy who walks into a bar, starts throwing around shots, dropping a lot of money, like, people who are there will respect you. They don't know why, but they will say, that's the high roller here. He's cool. And for me, like, seeing those people do that every night, I was like, I don't respect you for doing this. I started to get really upset, and I would leave every night, and I would be like, man, I got to do something else. And like, I felt so bad for feeling this way, because I had committed myself so hard to this industry and talked about how much I love it, and like so much on social media. If you go back into my Instagram or Facebook, I would talk at length about how much I love the industry. Um, and eventually I thought, I needed to make a change. And so that's when I started to look around, and eventually when I found the hotel industry. Um, it's 9 o'clock now, so I will leave it there. We're actually coming to the end of my sobriety story. I'm not going to tell you an in-depth story of my recovery process over the last couple of years, because it's been pretty smooth sailing. So the next stream will actually be the end of my sobriety story. What can you look forward to, you ask? So I have been talking to people who have also gone through sobriety journeys, and I am really excited to have people come on to my channel, and I'm going to interview them, and they're going to talk about their sobriety stories, what life was like when they were alcoholics, and what life was like going through that change, what made them want to change, what was their rock bottom. And the cool thing is that although we all have, from the people I've talked to, similar stories, that we've all had problems, we wanted to make a change, we hit a rock bottom, and we grew. How all of that happened is a lot different. So I'll look forward to that. I'm hoping that, as I said, my next stream is on Wednesday, so that will be my last story where I kind of wrap up. I'll talk about how I got into hotels, how I left Republic, which was really my last it was sort of cathartic, because that was where I became like a raging alcoholic, and that was my last sort of chain that was tying me back into doing something completely different with my life. So I'll wrap that up. I'll talk about how I met Sarah. I'll talk about moving into a new apartment. Like, I'll talk about my career in hospitality, and what changing was like, and how I developed a little bit of an imposter syndrome. I would say, just from moving from a nightclub to a hotel where I felt so out of place. I'll talk about what I wore to the interview that I thought was appropriate, because it was like nightclub fancy, but it was actually like not appropriate at all. And then I'll just wrap it up there. And then on Saturday, I'm hoping to, at some point this week, I'll announce who I'm going to be talking to. It is a good friend of mine. We've known each other since junior high school. She was in the bar industry as well. And yeah, she's got a really great story, and she's done some great things with her sobriety. So that should be Saturday. And then I've got some other awesome announcements as well. Some really exciting stuff coming up with the channel. There is, I'm essentially at the point in Twitch that I am almost about to become affiliate status. So what that means is that you can start making a little bit of a profit off of Twitch. So you can start having people subscribe to your channel rather than follow. And what that means is that I can make money that I will use to grow the channel more, better equipment, a better design, all of that stuff. So look forward to all of that. I haven't applied for the affiliate program yet. I'm not sure how all that works, but I do have some goals with that that relate to mental health and sobriety, and yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to come. Before I sign off, does anyone have any questions? Anything about alcohol, or what I was talking about, or anything like that? I'm happy to answer whatever you guys have. Thanks, Brass Dulu. Yeah. I definitely want to. I just want to hold off on like actually applying until I have everything done. What I would like to do is donate part of the money I make to charity. Um, but before I like officially, you guys are on stream, so I'll tell you this. I just want to make sure that the charity that I have in mind will actually accept it. So I have yet to hear back, but I'm hoping that'll go as fine. Um, and then, yeah, so I'm working towards that. And I just want to make sure I have all of my ducks in a row, so to speak, before I actually move into that. Because if people are going to support the channel with that type of stuff and the charity, I want to make sure I have all of those details ironed out before I actually do that. Question, out of curiosity, do you consume cannabis or strictly sober? No, I haven't smoked weed or cannabis in a long time. It actually, I used to quite a bit in junior high and high school. I actually got caught in high school smoking a joint outside of the school by the school officer, and we had to go to ADAC, which is the Alberta Alcohol and Drug Addiction Center, because we told them we smoked weed like 3 times a week, and it was a lot more than that. It was like 5 times a day. But ever since like high school, and I got out of high school, and just after, I would say like, I don't know, when I moved to Vancouver, I never really smoked. And when I did, it gave me anxiety. So I think the last time I can remember I smoked I was probably 27 or 28, and I watched Wreck-It Ralph by myself, and I almost had an anxiety attack because I was so stressed out thinking about work and stuff. Like it was anti-relaxing. And I know people say maybe you're trying the wrong stuff, or you're doing I don't even know what they're called anymore. The different strains. Maybe I'm not using the right strain. It doesn't matter to me. It just is not. It's not something that I would enjoy. My one vice now is caffeine. I love caffeine, but all I drink is black coffee and energy drinks occasionally, which I'm trying to wean myself off of. So black coffee is the healthiest I can be addicted to caffeine with. Yeah, and Mandy, it may be right. It may not be the right strain. I don't know, but at this point, it doesn't matter. Like I know I've had edibles suggested to me and all this stuff, but again, it's like I try and live quite frugally. If I'm gonna buy something, I definitely like do my research and buy it. Like this computer setup, definitely worth it. But again, even this stuff, Sarah had to convince me to get a computer this nice, and like just buying weed is something that I'm not interested in because it's kind of an expensive habit. Same thing with coffee. Like coffee is an expensive habit, but I drink instant coffee, just the powder that you put in the boiling water, and that's what you see me drink every stream is like a 10-cent cup of coffee, and it makes me just feel so great. So no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any other questions? It takes time to know what works. Some just can't handle it, which is totally fine. Yes, it can be expensive unless you got a friend. Totally. And like I couldn't handle it anymore, and I was not getting any benefits from it. So yeah, and like even when I drank, like it would mess me up. Like if I was drunk at like a level 5 of drunkenness, if I smoked weed, it would black me out immediately, and then I couldn't do it. So like I couldn't combine the two, which just seems silly. The only time I would really do it is if like I was at home and I was like, oh my god, I want to go to bed, so drink a ton and then smoke or something. And yeah, so just not for me. But I definitely remember having some really good times in high school. So yeah, and it's again, I think it's great if you enjoy it. I think out of all the things that you could replace alcohol with, if cannabis is that, then I think that's super positive. Yeah, just the relationship that I have with it isn't the best, but it's not in a negative way. I don't think of it in a negative light. It's just not for me. But again, like yeah, if you can wean yourself off booze by smoking a ton of weed, be like that's awesome, because weed is much less harmful for you, and yeah, it's just going to make you want to stay home and chill, and that's great. So that's what I like to do. Any other questions? Thanks for asking that question as well, Brastula. That was a really good question. Yeah, no devil's lettuce for me. Up with hope, down with dope. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's just maybe one day, I don't know, like if I was out at my buddy's cabin or something, or the mood was right, like I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. But yeah, nothing. I don't have any plans to in the future. But yeah, any other questions? Cool. Well, if not, then I will sign off for the night. Oh, here we go. Another one. Thanks, Brass. I guess it's not entirely connected to sobriety, but do you meet up with any friends from the warehouse still? Um, no, but not out of like broken relationships or anything. Like there is no, um, it's just we've grown apart. Yeah. I haven't been to the warehouse in a long time. I think the last time I went was maybe a year and a half ago or two. Just like went for some snacks. Um, no, so I don't see any friends from the warehouse anymore still. Although, two of that being said, after I left the warehouse, two of my friends in the industry, um, became bartenders there. So I don't know if you guys know Grimlock from my stream. He works at one of the warehouses, as well as my good friend Leo also works bartended at one of the warehouses. So I still have a little bit of a connection, but no, I haven't even been on one of the properties in a long, 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 long time. I try and eat at home for most of my meals. So, and if we're going out, I'm gonna eat Subway or something. So no, it's yeah, yeah, Brando and Barry are like two amazing people that I wish I still had a connection with. Brandon was one of the most down to earth, amazing managers I've ever had, and friends too. So he was the one who sort of introduced me. Him and Jeff and Barry were the ones who actually introduced me into bartending and got me into that. So yeah, I love them to death and I miss them dearly. So Brando, Barry, Jeff Lockwood, if you guys are watching this at all, I miss you guys and I hope you guys are doing really well. I know Jeff's doing crazy well. He's got an amazing kid. Liz is amazing. And I know I haven't connected with Barry in a while. And then I know Brando is at the Seattle warehouse still. So I know obviously most restaurants are having a tough time, but I know they'll bounce back. They have an amazing business model. So um, yeah, yeah. The warehouse, I have such fond memories of working there. Um, yeah. There's actually one point that I actually tried to go back to work at the warehouse when I was working at Republic. I had an opportunity to work for a social media company and I worked for them for a little bit as well as working at Republic. And I just realized that was sort of going to be my way to get out of working at Republic is working for this social media company, Antisocial. They're an awesome media company. And I didn't dislike the job, but it just made me realize I was like, I still really love bartending. So I quit that job and got rehired at the warehouse. And but it didn't. It lasted for a weekend because I was working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at Republic. I would work Friday at Republic until close. So I'd get home around like 4:30, have to be up and at the warehouse on Saturday for 10 a.m., work 10 a.m. to about 7 or 8 at the warehouse on a day shift, go home, get changed, eat, come back to Republic and be open again for 10 or 11, work all of that on Saturday, and then go back and do a double again on Sunday. And it was too much. And so I said eventually, I was like, after that first weekend, my boss Troy, who I've mentioned before at Republic, just meant he was like, you cannot work at two places like this. You have to choose because you are so tired. Like, I just can't, I need you at full capacity. So the warehouse, yeah. See, when I was there, like when I was working at the Granville warehouse, I didn't drink at all. Um, hey, thanks, Brass, and that's amazing, man. And it's good to see you too. Like, I'm happy that you're doing well. But yeah, when I worked at the warehouse, I didn't drink at all at the Granville warehouse, because it wasn't allowed. So, or at least when I started working though, they said it wasn't allowed. I wasn't aware that people were drinking. But at the Hastings warehouse, I definitely drank quite a bit. And that was just, yeah, it was definitely on the down low, but yeah, I never drank at all when I worked at the Granville warehouse. It was only till after hours that I aggressively drank for like 20 minutes and did all the shots. And then I went home and had a house party. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Brass. That was good reminiscing. And I'll see Brass. I will see you in the morning. If you guys are up, check out Brass Thulu's stream. He's streaming Final Fantasy VII from his PC with a bit of mods, so the graphics are definitely nicer. But if not, I'll be back on Wednesday playing World of Warcraft. Thanks, everybody. This was great. Yeah, it went longer than I expected, and that's amazing. So be happy. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.